On to additions, deletions, and amendments to the agenda.
For me.
No amendments.
Okay, anything?
Nope, I have nothing.
I had a minor change, crop swap to add as item number 12.
Okay, let's take a look. Okay. So we're going to add crop swap to community events update. Is that what you said? You're suggesting?
We were gonna add it just after.
Oh, make it 12A.
It's in the
12B.
presentation.
Gotcha. Okay, so the change is going to be 12A is going to be a community events update and 12B is going to be a crop swap update.
Actually, can we make 12A the crop swap? I'm sorry. I just
Wow, this is a very needy group. Okay, 12A is,
Happy holidays.
yes. I'm sorry. 12A is a crop swap update and 12B is the community events update. Okay, got it. So amended. All righty, item number 6, approval of the agenda.
Move approved. Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the agenda is approved unanimously.
That was moved by member Stewart and seconded by member Hamilton.
Thank you.
That's for the recording.
Thank you. How's our pace? We doing okay?
Very, very good.
Okay. Moving on to item 7. Is there any public present?
We have no members.
Any questions or comments sent in prior?
We do not. Thank you.
Okay. All right, well, that takes care of that. All righty, moving on to item 8 is the approval of the November 19th minutes. If you could take a moment to take a peek, refamiliarize yourself, and then if I could have a motion to approve.
I approve the minutes as drafted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It was moved by Director Kozik and seconded by Director Stewart.
Thank you.
Members, excuse me. Of course I have it. We're all directors.
Okay, that takes care of item 8. All right, so moving on to comments and requests. General Manager, Mr.
Yes, a few things wanted to talk about today. One, and this seems to be a topic that keeps coming up, and I know we talked about a little bit about water quality last month. But one of the topics that's really gaining, I think even some political headlines is use of fluoride in the water supply. And we've received a couple of questions kind of here and there from a couple of interested customers, not a lot, I would say. But I think it's probably going to ramp up. There's a lot of kind of, call it rhetoric, but there is a lot of rhetoric on the topic at the moment. And so just wanted to share with this committee, Rainbow doesn't fluoridate the water. We don't add fluoride to the water supply, but Metropolitan does. They started it in the early 2000s. It was actually in 1995, and they have like a white paper that actually is really good. It kind of explains all this stuff. But 1995, California passed a law that basically said if you have funding and you serve over 10,000, to over 10,000 services, if you have the funding, 10,000 services, then it actually required it. And Metropolitan got funding. They received grant funding to install the improvements, and so they've been doing that at a level of 0.7 parts per million, so a little under 1 part per million, and that is the recommendation from the California Department of Public Health, U.S. Centers for Disease Control. That's the recommended level.
And that was since when?
2003, I believe they built the facility. So 20 years or so they've been doing that. It's actually naturally occurring in the supply at about 0.1 to 0.4. So actually what they're doing is just supplementing it. Yeah, they just ramp it up to that 0.7. The maximum, so this is the maximum contaminant limit the state of California sets is 2 parts per million, which is half of the federal limit, which is 4 parts per million. So just kind of gives you a little perspective of where they're at. But I think you're going to hear a lot about this, and so a lot of the agencies, Eastern, same thing. They don't fluoridate the supply, and so they're kind of ramping up kind of their messaging on exactly how this occurs. But it is in our imported supply that we purchase. So there is fluoride in the water from Metropolitan, but we don't supplement it at all.
So it happens at Skinner.
It does, right.
Okay.
So that's one
Doesn't-
thing.
That doesn't apply to, not that it affects us, doesn't apply to untreated water.
I don't know if they if they add fluoride to the untreated supply. That's a good question. I think it's just the treated supply.
I would suspect
Yeah.
that, and then, like the plant down
Right.
south of us.
The County Water Authority also adds
Adds
fluoride to the
fluoride.
supply. Same concept. They put it at 0.7. But the two main water suppliers here in the region, they do add fluoride to the supply, and County Water Authority was given funding to do that as well. So that was part of their compliance, I guess. So more to come on that, and there probably will be some messaging eventually, as that kind of ramps up on, this is what it is, right? So that's that.
Is there any,
Does
Go ahead.
Metro get natural?
Somewhere between
Point
Yeah,
one and
0.1,
0.4.
0.4, but
0.1 and 0.4.
is there an average of how much they're actually supplementing over the course of the year statewide?
I don't have that information. I mean, I could request, but yeah, it's naturally occurring in groundwater, primarily, but,
Is it?
yeah. So, and a lot in the southwestern United States, just that there is a lot, it's pretty prevalent in the groundwater at low levels, typically at low levels. Obviously it's above the 2, then you've got to do something to
Treat it.
take it out. Yeah, you have to do something to take it out. But like I said, Met Supply typically has 0.1 to 0.4. That could be just the difference in
Colorado.
yeah,
State
the
water
blend,
protect.
the blend coming from state or Colorado. So that probably has more to do with it than anything, because those are the two primary supplies. So anyways,
If a ratepayer wishes to protest that, where do we direct them?
well, it'd be to Met. I mean,
Yeah.
Met's Met would be the one. So that might be a good thing too. Like if you have additional questions, these are the people that are actually doing it. There is they put together, it's really pretty too, a nice 1-pager. And so we've got that available to us as well that we can provide. So
Is it on anything on the website?
I don't think we put it on the website yet. We just talked about maybe adding it to where our consumer confidence report is, that water quality section, adding some language in that, but yeah, so we're starting to tailor
Probably
some of
wouldn't hurt to
those.
post it to the website if that's a question that's going to be popping up. Somebody might want to know.
one suggestion, when you do post it, I would recommend a headline that says Rainbow does not fluoridate the water.
Yeah.
So we are already telling our customers, we're not doing it, but there is some
Information.
information that comes from Met where there is some.
Yeah.
Fluoride in the
Right.
water we get, just
Yeah.
so.
We have FAQs on the website, don't we?
Yeah.
Maybe if it could be worded such that we're not adding additional fluoride to the water.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't want to leave an impression that there's no fluoride in the water, right?
Right.
Somebody could
No.
make that assumption.
It comes
Yeah.
to us already.
And treated.
Yeah.
We don't add any additional
Right.
fluoride.
So Eastern is working on, we talked about this at, there was a meeting, just the general managers, of, Eastern and the retail agencies they serve. And so there was some discussion on this. Eastern's putting together kind of a similar message, and they're the same as us, same boat as us. And so we'll use all of that to kind of formulate a consistent message, to all our customers, but yeah.
Okay,
Um,
are we moving on?
we're moving on.
Any other questions on the fluoride topic?
stay on the MWD theme, and I mentioned this at the board meeting last week. They were taking up that day, actually, the a funding request, and this is coming from the State Water Project for the Delta Conveyance Project. So that's the tunnels, or it's just a tunnel now. It used to be tunnels, but now it's a tunnel. But it was $141 million funding need, and that was Metropolitan's portion of it to complete the planning and entitlement phase for the project. So basically the permitting and then a lot of kind of the pre-design work. So geotechnical and things like that. They're going to be drilling and, finalize, basically confirming the alignment and the suitability of the alignment and things like that. So a lot of field work, but then also a lot of permitting environmental that they've got to finish. I think going into it, it was looking a little bit questionable that they would continue. They didn't have the funding in their current 2-year budget. And so they also took a look at that. Obviously, if we approve this funding, they're not going to amend this budget because those costs kind of come in over time, but they're obviously in 2027. So yeah, 2 years from now, they'll have to account for that funding gap. And at a cost of about 3% rate impact. No guarantee that will be placed against the rates. They do have the ability to place state water project costs onto the tax roll as well. So there's a whole act when they built the state water project that allowed for that. That's actually what Met did, and on their last budget, they actually doubled that property tax rate. Depending on how much property you have, it's $30, $50, something like that. But they can cover the state water project costs with that. So that's another option for them. Going into the vote, it was kind of questionable if they actually had the votes. It was actually passed overwhelmingly. They had one no vote out of 36 board members or whatever it was. So 97% or something on the vote. The governor himself did a lot of outreach to individual board members and agencies. They wanted to have they're really pushing to get this project going. It's one of the key pieces for them kind of combating the climate change where they think it's headed, right? Where we're going to have less snowpack in the Sierras. It's going to come more as rain. We need to be able to capture more of that and move it south. And also avoiding the environmental impacts, the fish, the delta smelt, and the fish impacts that prevent pumping, prevent water from getting through the delta. So anyway, so they did approve it. So that project will be moving on. Probably more to come on that, but it's one of the governor's big initiatives, and he's got Met support, and Met's almost 50% of the funding that they've got.
Maybe he could divert funds from high-speed rail to this project.
Right.
Or put the water on the train.
Train.
How are people supposed to get from Modesto to Bakersfield?
Yeah.
Traffic.
Walk.
Lot of traffic.
Anyway, sorry. Veered off there.
Can I ask a
Yeah, go ahead.
stupid question? It really is stupid too, because I'm sure it's an easy answer, but I'm sure that the state would be pushing this so hard if they had already discounted building more storage versus doing this, which, I know in talking to some people in the water business over the past 6 or 7 years, they said it's crazy that we don't have more residents. Or maybe
Well, we have
doing more wa-
Sykes that's coming online that's only been 20 years in the process.
Yeah, I think even longer.
Well, nothing's been built then forever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Diamond Valley.
yeah, that's the last
That's
reservoir.
that's about it. And that was what a great project,
Yeah.
especially for us.
I assume that there's been a value study saying this tunnel is much
Yeah,
better, but for what? I'm not sure.
yeah, the issue they've got, and this actually occurred just this year, was where, you know, the environmental part of it, right? The fish, protecting the fish down at where the pumping plant actually would transfers it out of the delta. This year in particular, they had steelhead that were down close to the pumps. And so it actually furthered those restrictions. They estimate they should have moved an additional 900,000 acre feet out of the delta that they couldn't move because of that. So this actually solves that problem. Well, or, you know, year to year, it's going to vary, but it actually bypasses that whole thing completely.
The biggest risk though, is if we have a failure in the delta, we lose all our water.
Yeah.
I mean, we're that close. Rising water levels, earthquake. You know,
A lot of risk.
there's a lot of risk and exposure that it really comes out and hits home if you have an opportunity to sign up and take the Bay Delta tour that Water Authority or EMWD does. I mean, I went up on that project thinking that this tunnel is just a big boondoggle and came away with the fact that you have about $300 billion a year in economies that are all riding on that water supply being stable. And
Yeah.
it's getting
Dirt levees and
Yeah.
some pretty fragile infrastructure. Yeah. So, I think it is a good thing. I mean, it's how they're going to ultimately pay for it, you know, because they're estimating it's 20
get rid of the
billion.
high-speed rail.
$20 billion project, and that's today's dollars. That's
Yeah.
in today's dollars. So,
In the initial estimate.
yeah, I mean, I think they've really tried to hone that in. And there's a lot of talk around that too. You know, if you, we heard a talk from Carla Nemeth, who is the director of Department of Water Resources, California Department of Water Resources, who is, you know, I mean, this is part of the governor's agenda, and she, you know, they're pushing that. But you know, there's still, I think, a lot of hope out there that, you know, outside funding, you know, it is a Northern California to Southern California thing, but kind of an issue of national security with all the agriculture that sits south of the Delta and those kind of things. So I think there's still a lot of hope out there that, you know, not just the metropolitan agencies would have to cover, you know, 50% of the cost. It would be something less than that when it eventually happens. So a lot more to come on that over the next couple of years. I think this funding pushes it to the next stage, right? And the governor does seem that is really, you know, talk about kind of the rhetoric of we're done negotiating the environmental groups and such, you know, that we're just moving forward and we've done all we can. And so I think with the funding secured, they're really going to push hard to get this thing before his term is out, which is end of 26. So it still requires another decade of construction on the back end of it. So the long term kind of a thing, but
Got it.
but it was kind of a key moment because if Met didn't go, it would have fell apart right there. So that was a key vote. Just let you know, I was on a call and I had heard that Met had sent our first invoice to Eastern for Rainbow's billings, water delivery billings for November, and that turned out to be true. Eastern was surprised that somebody was so excited to pay their bill because I called them and asked them, "Can I get a preview of our bill?" But that is true, and we checked, you know, just making sure all the, you know, the transfer of the flow rates and everything kind of matched up with what we were seeing, and it's about right. We had about 1,000 acre feet of deliveries, but that bill is en route, so looks like it's all coming. I won't tell you the exact results yet, but till I see it in writing, but it looks as promised.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's good.
as expected. I was going to mention too, we did initial interviews for our finance manager opening yesterday. So we interviewed 5 candidates. I think we're gonna, we've got a few more. I think we're gonna interview, but I think it was promising. So, some more to come on that too. That's been the action around here.
Thank you. Okay. Questions for the general manager?
None from me.
Okay. Moving on to 9B, committee member comments. Hayden, let's start with you.
I have none today.
Right? James?
Happy holidays to the staff
Yeah.
and congratulations on a year almost completed for the record books. When you document Rainbow's history, this is the last couple of years were pretty big ones, and
Mhm.
kudos to the staff for getting us over the finish line. So bonuses for all the staff.
Oh, hey,
Yeah.
hear that?
All right.
That's why I'm on the committee and not on the board.
That's right. Budget cookies.
Yeah, yeah.
Take it, we'll take it.
All right. Bill?
Yeah, same set of thoughts, just that
Mhm.
as we enter the end of the year of transfer, that it didn't go nearly as easily as I expected. We still ran into a lot of interference from our previous water supplier and and I think it just proved that the district made an excellent decision in hiring you. Yes, you. In hiring you and that your experience both with Eastern and water politics locally came in very handy in orchestrating all of the little pieces that had to go with this, including major construction projects.
Yeah.
And I think you all of the staff,
Yeah.
share in that major accomplishment. You have moved the district forward, not a year, but 5, maybe 10. And we are in a place now where we're sustainable and have a path forward. And didn't prior to exiting. Yes, again. Thank you. Echo what you said. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It was big time team effort, big time.
Excellent. I just have a couple of comments, well, 3 maybe. First off, as you know, the unofficial spokesperson for Flume, right before Thanksgiving, my Flume pops up saying you got a leak. And I start freaking out, trying to figure out where this leak's at. I shut off my landscaping, still got a leak. Shut off my grove, still got a leak. Shut off my house, no leak. Uh-oh. Check everything in the house, shut off my hot water heater, no leak.
Ooh.
I'm like, hot water line. So can't figure out what's going on. Nothing's showing up yet. Hot floors or anything like that. I eventually get a plumber in, and they find the leak, and they reline one of my copper pipes that was going to all the bathrooms. So saved Thanksgiving. And I before they were able to fix the leak, I was probably losing 10 to 15 gallons an hour
Wow.
under my slab. So that they were able to reline the pipe and not have to dig up my brand new floors right before my company came over Thanksgiving was a really good thing. But again, if Flume hadn't told me that I had a leak, I would have never known until finally we're like, oh, you got heated floors, right? This is great.
What's this spring coming out from underneath your slab?
But the strange thing was that I have a tankless hot water heater. So it needs a certain flow rate
yeah.
before it will start making hot water. So the leak wasn't big enough to trigger the hot water. So I was losing water without it being hot, right? So that Flume then told me that was happening. And then later on, when I started using the hot water, that's when I started getting the hot floors. And the plumber who fixed it mentioned also that for a lot of people, when this happens to, and they don't know they have a leak, and they're on propane tanks, which a lot of our ratepayers are, and you have a regular hot water heater, that hot water heater is going to constantly pump water out, and you're going to constantly replenish it in your propane. That's one person didn't know until their entire propane tank was empty that they had a problem. Well, depending on the size of your propane tank, that's 600 to whatever dollars for a
Yeah.
propane refill on today's dollars. So, anyway, just another case study of, wow, that was a cool deal. I really like my plume. And while I was at Home Depot getting parts for something else, I started being approached by different shoppers, because it was about 9 o'clock or 8:30 on a Wednesday or something, asking me for my advice on plumbing, which was a little scary. And then after answering questions for a couple of different people on valves, somebody else came up to me who was a local resident here, and their flume was telling them that they had a water main leak, and he needed some advice on the type of glue and pipe he should use. So there you go, another happy customer in the district. So that was my first one. Second one was, I saw an article recently about how dry the winter started, and that they don't project really any significant rainfall through the end of 2024 and as we go in. So when we look at kind of switching off of, overtly El Nino to, potentially La Nina type of normal conditions, do we factor in that into our forecasts and stuff like that as far as water usage? I mean, when we have an El Nino and it's wet, I mean, I'll see my bill go from $600 down to $100 or
Yeah.
something, or,
Yeah.
it's a big swing.
Huge.
But if we've got Santa Ana's, we don't have any rain, I would imagine we would see a lot more water usage
Yeah.
within the district. Is that something that we plan for or take into account?
Well, usually we're budgeting in, March, April. And so it's hard to tell, trying to factor in the forecast for the upcoming winter. It's a little bit difficult. For instance, this year, our best conservative assumption is assume it's going to be wet, right? And that was our budget assumption this last year was about 10,000 acre feet. Obviously, if we sell more than that, it's positive to the district. We sell less, that's when we're having to make mid-year budget adjustments. So usually, actually, that's when it occurs. Like last year, we had budgeted 12,000 or so acre feet. Cool summer. November was actually a little dry, but then we got right into rains in December and we end up having to make budget adjustments downward at the January, February mark to kind of adjust for that. The most prudent thing is usually, it's been hard to keep up with, to be quite honest, because the demands have kept dropping, and then the weather the last 2 years kind of compounded those two things.
So it's a help to our budget if we do end up with.
It is. We're up. I haven't got November's numbers yet, although we know we delivered about 1,000 acre feet, which is about average for last few years. And we were up about 20%. Sales were up about 20%. Because warm summer and no rain. And so we're up about 20% on sales. And this is the time, starting July 1 through basically the end of November is the majority of our sales, right? July, August, September, October, those are our heaviest months. And so that's usually when we know, like last year, once we already knew we're not hitting 12,000 because we don't have good months left really, unless it really heats up, in the spring or we have a very dry winter, and which wasn't the case last year. So we're projecting this year, we'll probably, should be in the 11, 12,000. If it's very dry, maybe even above that. But yeah, so, but it seems like we've kind of hit, we're trending back towards where we were a couple of years ago. And so maybe we've hit a little bit of a equilibrium. I don't know. Time will tell. It seems to be more weather based now, where we're getting back to that, 12,000-ish acre feet, still down from 5, 6, 7 years ago. But but that's kind of it. So it's difficult to do way back when we're doing budget, but then making the adjustment mid-year, that's really where that happens.
Got it.
We try to budget conservatively
Yeah.
and we've constantly been overestimating.
Mm.
They
Although,
gotta keep pulling
Well, we
back.
think we're being very
very
conservative.
conservative and
It,
Get
it's
surprised.
still, it still doesn't always go the way we
Got
think.
Yeah.
Understand?
So another part to that question, you don't ever have to worry about having enough supply then?
Right now, the water supply is in really good shape. Metropolitan has the most storage they've had in their history. And so
number I heard at one of the reports was something like they have a 2-year supply of storage.
yeah, so a couple of years of drought and we would still be in okay, still be in okay shape. The Colorado is still very low. Mead's at 33%, Powell's at 38%, in that range. It's still a lot of water. There's still a lot of water out there, but it's very low. That's where we'd like to see the long-term recovery. But yeah, right now supply is in good shape. Metropolitan sales are still down, even from what they budgeted. So conservation and those kind of things and these local supply projects have really taken hold. So yeah, supply is not the issue right now. It really, for people that are very heavily dependent on water sales, that's actually the biggest pressure is the reduced water sales is putting financial pressure on
Price.
on these agencies. Yeah.
Like the water.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, that's the biggest one, I think. Yeah.
All right, that was number 2. And I'd like to loop back to 1 for just a second. I did also, just a point of note is when I was going through my slab leak, and by the way, if you've ever had a slab leak, if you've never had a slab leak, it's not a pleasant experience to go through because you can't sleep. You really don't know what's going on. But as I had a bunch of different people out trying to help me figure out what was going on, but one point that they mentioned was, and I hadn't heard this before, but a lot of insurance companies now are requiring homeowners to put leak detection on their water supply in order for their policy renewal, just like you would put an alarm system or different things like that. So that's just a data point for us as we talk about, it's another angle, I guess, to say, has your insurance company, asked you to put in some type of water leak detection? Because the district can help you out with that. We have a program for that. There's just with a different, rather than a Flume headline, it's insurance renewal. I
What's
don't know.
interesting is Flume doesn't qualify for what a lot of the insurance companies are asking for because what they want is an automatic shut off.
Oh, it's that.
And so it has to be hardwired in where like
installed
if
by
you're
a
not
plumber.
home and you get a leak detection, you can remotely turn off your own water.
Yeah.
Or the system can do it itself. That's what a lot of insurance companies.
And those
are
things
required.
those are like $350 or something. For the
Yeah,
mowing.
well, the installation, the labor cost it can be in
Yeah.
the thousands, so.
Well, anyway, just
But, yeah.
something to
Mhm.
another angle on that.
Isn't that the call to the neighbor next door? Turn
Mhm.
it up for you? Good neighbor policy.
Well, and Flume has that feature. You have a wave setting where it has an alternate contact and could be your neighbor to come over and turn your water off if something happens.
Yeah. Met is offering rebates on quite a few of the devices now too.
Yeah.
So they are.
Because they're automatic. You just
Yeah.
hit a button and as long as your internet's up. All right. And then my last one was on water testing. So obviously we publish our water test results and we made a huge improvement on just how to communicate that and explain it and all those kinds of things. But again, I was reading about the amount of people and a lot of it may not necessarily apply to our district given the demographics, but of people who don't, it's not that they don't trust the water supplier for water quality. They don't trust the pipes within their buildings or on their properties, that there's not something else contaminating their water. So they are buying filtered water, going to those machines and getting all that kind of stuff. So my question is, given that type of situation, and given that we're in an Aggie area and we have a lot of old pipes and we have a lot of properties that have been here a long time, Would we ever recommend or provide a program where people can send in, and if we do, tell me, their tap water, coming out of their pipes for water testing? That we could do something like that, not at the main, but
So
You have the
what,
floor,
lead and
Jeff.
copper testing program that we just
So
sent
there-
letters.
There's many facets to that question.
Mhm.
So we actually do lead and copper testing where we give the customers a container and they do a first draw sample in the morning out of their faucet, and then we take it to the lab and it gets tested. You can do that for lead and copper testing. For bacteriological contaminants, you cannot, there's a lot of different requirements. So once you draw the sample, you have to be very careful how you draw the sample, right? The guys usually wear gloves. They don't want to contaminate the sample with anything. It gets sealed. It has to be refrigerated. You can't just leave it on the counter and then turn it in 48 hours or a week later, because if there's something in there, it's going to start growing and developing. So you have a timeline from when you have to get it to the lab. If we start pulling samples off of customer side infrastructure, then we might involve ourselves in some liability at that point. What we do with folks is we tell them, if you want to pull your sample, contact Babcock Laboratories, and they will tell you what the process is, how much it's going to cost, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, for us, our responsibility stops at the meter. That's our demarcation point for everything.
But usually when we get complaints, we'll go out and test at our location.
At the meter, we'll pull the meter and test at the meter, right?
No, I absolutely understand where the limitations of where the district has responsibility and not wanting to have additional liability. I guess I'm asking, do we have a FAQ, or do we have anything on the website, or do we talk when people call in? Do we recommend, or at least not recommend, but inform them that there are ways for you to test the water inside your home that, if you're worried about if you've got bad pipes or there's a contaminant or something like that.
So we actually have so our system operators also handle water quality complaints. So that goes to, when somebody calls in, customer service will send that over to the water quality. It's like an email group.
Mhm.
Our system operators will pick it up and they'll go make contact with the customer and try and figure out what the issue is. Sometimes it has to do with a fire hydrant got hit down the street and it just kind of stirred things up.
Sure.
Sometimes we had an interesting call. The lady said the water in my bathtub's green. And you guys are servicing, you're giving us green water. One call in a suburban neighborhood, that tells us it's a localized issue. When you have multiple calls in a neighborhood at the same time, then it's probably something on our end. So can you take this glass container and give us some of that water? And she scooped it out and brought it outside. It was crystal clear. It was the refraction coming through the window that was tinting the water in the tub.
Interesting.
So we do a little bit of, outreach.
Sure.
But we're pretty active with folks.
Yeah, I just thought maybe if there's something that could be, if somebody were concerned that you were talking about fluoride in your water,
Yeah.
right? And, if somebody wants to test their own water, do
Where
we have some?
where can they get that done?
Where can they
Done,
get
yeah.
that done? And there's protocols, things that you have to do, and we just have it informational or something like that. When I was doing that leak detection, I wasn't doing it, but when they were doing the leak detection, they pressurized my entire system with air
Mhm.
to be able to find the leak. And after that was all done, my water was not clear. And they said that it's very common that when you put your pipes in your house, especially an older house, under a lot of pressure and you pump that air in, it loosens up a lot of stuff that's been sitting in those pipes for a while that wouldn't normally. And you ran the tap for a minute and it all cleared up, but it was a little surprising when that happened. But this was really about how, there's a segment of the population that either doesn't trust the provider, the water provider, so they're going to get filtered water, or they don't trust their landlord for the pipes inside their apartment building. So they're going to spend, a massive upcharge to buy bulk filtered water rather than trust what's coming out of their tap. So it got me thinking about, individual residential testing after the meter.
So I have a quick anecdote about that.
Mhm.
My father-in-law and I got in this conversation because he would not drink the tap water and he lives in Oceanside.
Mhm.
And this was when I was working for the city of Oceanside.
Mhm.
And I said, you do know that my office is at the Weiss Water Treatment Plant. I know everything that goes on at that plant.
Mhm.
And I've been in every tank in Oceanside and worked on multiple lines. And I drink the tap water. In fact, when we cut the pipes open, and water's still coming out, just grab a handful and drink it. It's good water. And I know all aspects of it. Nope. And drink bottled water.
Yeah.
I mean, if I wasn't the preeminent source at that time for Oceanside, I mean, I couldn't convince them otherwise.
Right. But in, and last month we were talking about all the microplastics and how drinking bottled water may not be very good for us and it's
Right.
safer to drink
Right.
tap water. So, but anyway, I just saw that there was a segment of the population that was really getting a financial impact because they didn't trust the infrastructure. And it wasn't necessarily the water district infrastructure. It could have been something, within the building residence.
It's
stuff
somewhat
like that.
problematic because we can't actually refer specifically to Babcock and Wilcox, right? Because that's potentially interfering with free competition.
We could list
know,
multiple ones.
Yeah,
You-
yeah,
you
we
can- you
we
need
have
to look-
provided multiple lists.
You have to do multiple lists. In the good old days, you went to the yellow pages.
Yeah.
And you looked up and here was a list of things. Unfortunately, today, everybody's on their phone and where's the yellow pages?
Yeah.
You know,
And usually the people that are offering to test your water, they want to sell you something. That's
Exactly, right.
Yeah.
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 A
Another
whole
issue.
whole home, reverse osmosis, $4,000.
So maybe something to look into, kind of a unbiased, somewhere we can send them unbiased.
yeah.
Yeah, they're not trying to sell them a whole home filtration system, but we'll just do their testing for them. I know you can do that with your pool water. You can take it down to the pool supply store. They'll test it for you.
Mhm.
Yeah, drinking water, maybe we'll.
And you need more chlorine.
Yeah, yeah, right. I guess so. Hey, one thing before you go off the start to the dry winter,
Mhm.
kind of on that thing, because it's an interesting one point I didn't make. We've had no rainfall basically here, trace amounts of rainfall. But actually in the northern part of the state, they are getting weather, which that's where all our
They're getting
the
that
long-term
river.
supply comes from. They're actually 200%, so 2 times above normal up in the very northern part of our state.
Mhm.
And we're right about average, just above 107%, 105% in the central and southern
Mhm.
Sierra. So they've actually had a decent start, and they got
So-
storms going right now.
Good for supply and good for revenue.
Good for
the
sales
district.
and good, yeah, so.
I guess you can have your cake and eat it too.
That is okay.
All right. That was good, good comments and discussions. Moving on to item 10, discussion and possible action regarding committee membership. And this is with regards to volunteers, right?
Yes.
Okay. So who wants to take this? Do I take it? I'll take it. Or is there anybody who has a comment?
This is Julie wanting to join, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I got the agenda. I'm not on the agenda anymore. Yes, Director Johnson, former Director Johnson, has expressed interest in joining this committee as a ratepayer, as a member. And so put that in the staff report that's included in your packet, but would like to be considered for appointment by the board in January if the committee so desires.
And I'll point out that she is a former chair of this committee.
Yep. She was the chair when I joined the committee a long time ago, many moons. So comments, conversation about Julie Johnson. Obviously, again, she's very active in the district. She's a volunteer for a long time. And says, I think she's always pushes towards new and creative things to do and focus on. So I mean, I'm a big supporter myself.
I don't know her, but with that background and experience and the staff interested in having her participate, I believe I'm gonna follow staff's lead.
All right, Bill?
I'm right there too.
Yep.
She'd be great to have.
Yeah,
Back.
be an excellent addition to the board committee.
All righty, well, any other comments, thoughts? So, could, I have a motion to, recommend Julie Johnson to, join the Customer Service and Communication, Committee.
I move we recommend to the board that they appoint Julie Johnson to the fifth seat on the Customer Service Communications Committee. We have 5 possible seats.
I don't know that we can.
I don't- There's
In the policy, it says that preferred is from 4 to 7.
Oh.
Minimum of 4 up to 7 is kind
Okay.
of the range. So right in there.
All right.
Yes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor?
I-
Aye. So Bill Stewart did the motion and James Kozak did the second.
Thank you.
Aiden's trading me. Okay. We'll let Julie know. Yeah, and unfortunately, she wasn't able to be here today. She had a prior commitment. Otherwise, she would have been here in person. But if the board approves that recommendation, we'll see her in January. All right, item 11, update on recent use of the heli hydrant.
Okay. So just as a quick refresher for everybody, several years ago, the district and actually the board approved the installation, the purchase of a heli hydrant to help firefighting efforts as a result of the Lilac Fire and the Rice fires that we had. We were the first ones in San Diego County to have one installed. Yorba Linda Water District was the first ones to ever have one installed, and we follow suit from them. Tom basically directed me and said, hey, look into this. And he just sent me this short little blurb and said, look into this. I need to figure out what this is. Started looking into it. And as I kept going through it, he kept encouraging me to keep going with it. Met with Cal Fire, North County Fire. We found a suitable spot. That took about 6 months to actually find a spot to put it, because we would find a spot and we'd say, hey, this is a great spot. And then the helicopter pilots say, nope, we don't like it. So then they would recommend a spot to us and say, this is a great spot. And we're like, well, it is great, but we can't get water and power to it. So that went on for about 6 months. And we finally settled on the site up at the Palo Mesa tank site. And we just threw that one out there at the very end. And they're like, oh, this is a perfect site. And we're just like, wow, okay. So we didn't think they were going to bite on that one, but it worked out really good. And it was a collaborative effort between North County Fire, ourselves, and Cal Fire to install that tank. Everybody pitched in a little bit on all fronts on that. November 8th, it was actually used for the first time. So it was about 3.5 years, I want to say, after it was installed that it was used. It was used on the Garden Fire, and here's some pictures of the heli hydrant in use. This fire started on a Friday afternoon off of Lake Garden, kind of off of Gerd by Montserrat Winery area. We get notified as a courtesy from North County. What is it called? It's the dispatch agency for all the North County fire departments. So they send us a text and tell us, hey, there's a fire in your area. Plus it comes out on Pulse Point, and now it comes out on the Watch Duty app. So all kinds of notifications go out. Our job, my staff, is to find the command post, get there, find out where the fire's burning. Is it out of control? Is it under control? Do we have crews in the way? Is it heading towards one of our pump stations? Where are they going to, SDG&E is going to kill the power? How's that going to, hinder our operations? All of this came out of the after action reports of what happened with the Lilac Fire. So how we respond now is a result of lessons learned during the Lilac Fire. So we dispatched crews, we dispatched staff to the command post, figured out exactly what was going on with the fire. It was tracking its way up to Sumac up there in the backside of Sage. We quickly realized the helicopters are stacking up at the heli hydrant right now. So we had a couple staff members run up there to make sure everything was operational. During the summertime, we actually fill the heli hydrant and we keep it full. It operates off of a float system, just like the float in your toilet. So as the water goes down, it automatically starts to refill. It can be electronically controlled by the pilot. So they fly over, there's a frequency on the side of the tank. They dial up that frequency, hit their communications, they're on their joystick, and it'll start filling. During the summertime and peak fire season, we just fill it automatically and just maintain it like that. So when they come over, it's already got water in it and they can get going on it. too far. So a quick little,
Dangerously close to homes in Fallbrook. Crews point to a low-tech piece. Dangerously close to homes in Fallbrook. Crews point to a low-tech piece of equipment that helps save the day. ABC 10 News was there when this Hella hydrant was installed. Tonight, ABC 10 News reporter Danny Miskell follows through with how it worked exactly as planned.
The cause of the garden fire here 1 week ago is still under investigation. But one thing was certain to fire crews.
They immediately recognized that this fire had the potential to go extended attack.
Helicopters like the one you're seeing came straight to what's known as a heli hydrant, located at the top of the hill in Fallbrook, to fill up for water drops. The hydrant holds 5,000 gallons of water.
North County Fire says that multiple helicopters used this hydrant about 35 times within the first day that the fire broke out. And it only took the helicopters around 30 seconds to fill up and just minutes to fly over and drop the water.
We first told you about this heli hydrant back in 2021, when the Rainbow Municipal Water District, CAL FIRE, and North County Fire Protection District introduced it. It hadn't been used until last Friday. The heli hydrant automatically refills itself, drawing water from this tank just feet away. It's the most reliable source of water for firefighters in the area.
This was strategically located. There are certain ponds and lakes, around the area. They can go dry during the summer, and really a lot of times that's when you need these.
CAL FIRE says the garden fire burned 48 acres in just 2 days, and no structures were lost because of this heli hydrant.
It saved a lot of time because this water location was so close.
In Fallbrook, Danny Miskell,
It's a game changer.
ABC 10 News.
A game changer for sure. The Rainbow Municipal Water District, CAL FIRE, and North County Fire Protection District are looking to open a second location for a heli hydrant, and they're also working on securing funding for it.
so on this particular fire, they flew 2 sheriff's helicopters, which is the white and blue helicopter, the old Hueys. Those are operated by the sheriff's department for search and rescue. And they also have a CAL FIRE guy in there as part of, as kind of like a co-pilot / lookout. Then 2 SD Genie helicopters came in, the big Sky Crane that holds about 2,000 gallons. And then their Blackhawk helicopter came in. They've had 2 air tankers out of Ramona come in and drop retardant. And then they ran a VLAT, which is a very large air tanker, like a 737. All that to jump on this fire. The reason they were able to throw all those resources on it so fast, there was no other fires in the county. So the resources were available, put them all on this, get it knocked down as fast as possible. Initially, the reports, I was at the command post and I was getting reports from staff at the tank, and they said something's wrong. The helicopters are basically hovering in the pattern and they're waiting for each other to fill up and get out of the way. In reality, there was nothing wrong, but because what happened is the heli hydrant was so close to the fire that by the time the first helicopter picked up their load, went and dropped it and came back, the other 3 helicopters were still holding there. So air operations sent the 2 SD Genie helicopters to vessels and told them pull out of those ponds over there. So if you see video of this and you see the black water that's coming out of the helicopters, that's from the ponds at vessels. That allowed the 2 sheriff's department helicopters to work the heli hydrant, which was just enough timing for one to get a load, drop it, and by that time the next one's getting a load. So they had a pretty good rotation going on, and they dropped over 30. We counted about 35 loads were pulled out of that heli hydrant.
I mean, the fire was right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Perfect location.
it couldn't have been. I mean, it could have been closer, but that was pretty darn close. Let's see.
It was a
Robert,
driven
question.
fire and it was coming right at us.
Yes, it was.
That was.
We were,
Crest
it
Line
was
Hill.
just flat over the hill from our subdivision. I went outside. I had heard nothing about it. I see this plume going up. I went, uh-oh, all of a sudden the TV lighted up. We got a reverse 911 call to evacuate. All of that within minutes. And at the same time, it's like World War II. you know?
Yeah.
The air traffic was intense.
I got some air traffic. Yeah, I'm glad that none of them ran into each other. As a matter of fact, there was so much stuff in the air, but we were certainly very grateful.
So there's actually,
Yeah.
there's basically, it's a forward air controller and they're flying in an OV-10 and he's just doing circles. He's pretty high up. He's probably 15,000 feet and he's just circling. He's controlling all the air assets,
Heard that.
where they're coming in, where they're going out, all that stuff. And then he's communicating with air operations guy on the ground as far as what the precedence of work's going to be, and et cetera. It's another Channel 8 came out and also interviewed Jake and the chief from North County Fire and the chief for all of Cal Fire in San Diego. Watch this. Yeah, go ahead.
At Harbor Freight, we design and test our own tools and sell them directly to you. No middleman, just quality tools you can trust at prices you'll love. Whatever you do, do it for less at Harbor Freight.
Who didn't hit the skip button?
Live on
This
YouTube.
tank can be used in water drops to fight fires within a 10-mile radius of here. On Friday, it was a game changer for the garden fire that burned just in this valley below. This is CBS 8 chopper video over the garden fire in Fallbrook Friday. Huge flames swept up the mountainside, triggering mandatory evacuations.
We were really worried about this fire potential for 100 acres with structures immediately threatened.
After they dropped the water they had, helicopters searched for more water sources. And for the first time ever, they were able to use this new dedicated water tank for helicopters fighting wildfires in San Diego County.
We know we can depend on this. This isn't like a stock pond or a golf course where we go and then we fly there and we find out, well, there's no water in there, and then we're hunting around looking for a water source.
The tank is called a rapid aerial water supply, built for $150,000 in 2022 through a partnership between North County Fire Protection, CAL FIRE, and the Rainbow Municipal Water District.
Not something the water district normally handles, but again, these are our customers. And so this is taking care of our customers and their properties.
The tank pulls water from the water district's tower beside it. Pilots can access 350 to 1,000 gallons of water at a time in less than 3 minutes. And because it's on a hilltop, the choppers save fuel by avoiding long hauls up from ponds or lakes.
The really large helicopters, the Chinooks, the type ones, because they're really limited on where they can fill. Sometimes we're flying them, previously maybe all the way back to Lake Hodges to fill. So having something like this can really reduce our turnaround times.
And as crews deal with fast-moving wildfires, every second counts. Water runs that take several minutes can happen in a fraction of the time with this open-top water tank, helping stop fires before they burn out of control.
This tank behind me here was hit 35 times by helicopters that refilled their water supply on Friday as the fire was burning.
You can still see the burn scar up on the mountain and the red fire retardant, but no homes burned and no one was hurt.
Ideally, if we could have one of these within about 10 air miles across the entire county.
Right now, this is the first one of only 2 in San Diego County. The other one is now in San Marcos. In the Rainbow Water District, this is Anna Laurel for CBS 8.
It is just great. I mean, we watched that fire explode. It got right up to the property line of those homes. And to know that a swimming pool like receptacle made all the difference for those rural homes is just incredible.
Something that simple and that critical for those helicopters. I understood it could just go one after another, boom, 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 and it's right there, making it a lot easier. Otherwise, they have to go to the nearest body of water, which there may not be one.
Exactly. So great.
So the news lady was a little bit off and saying there was only 2 in the county. San Marcos has what's called a helipod. So it's different than a helihydrant. It's actually a movable tank, and it kind of looks like half of if you take a 30-yard trash bin and you cut it in half, that's essentially what it is. Wild Animal Park has a helihydrant, and theirs is I believe is a 7,000 gallon. So it's a little bit larger than ours. CAL FIRE came out with a list several years ago of locations in the county where they'd want one. And one of those locations is by our Gomez tank site. So we do have another location. It's already a flat spot and it's ready to go. And then one more thing, Jake touched on it when he was doing his interview with Channel 8 as a way to protect our ratepayers. And some people will say, why are we in the business of putting out fires? And I like to tell people it's the same thing. We offer water and a fire hydrant for fire trucks. We're offering a tank with water for helicopters. It's the same concept, right? As a water district, it's part of our job to provide water for fire protection. I mean, that our water system is designed to meet fire flow demands. We're just doing it in a non-traditional manner by providing it for helicopters.
Innovative.
Very innovative.
Yeah. And we have a new TV personality.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's you, Jay.
That's great.
Question for you. We're the first in the county. Robert, you say there are now 3?
There's two. Ours in Wild Animal Park. San Marcos has the slightly different version.
A slightly different version. My question is have either of those other 2 been actually used in longer?
No.
So we're first in the county and first to actually
Yeah.
have a practical application.
Yeah. I'd take it one step further too. I mean, these guys being involved in kind of the emergency response portion. I mean, obviously we got a lot of publicity over this, but even just the other day, we had
The water that's in this tank can be used in water drops to
Sorry.
fight fires.
just the other day we had a head-on collision out in front of Bonsall Elementary School, and 3 of our staff were nearby. Went out. It was during like school pickup too, so just chaos. It's already chaos, and so you just add that to it. But it made me think. I mean, there really isn't another agency that has people and eyes and trucks in this area like Rainbow does. I mean, that's, and so I think, the investments, not just in the heli hydrant, but I mean, the investments on, we've got lights on the truck. It has a sticker that says emergency response vehicle, and that, I think that, I don't know. To me, it's a really important part of what we do.
Community service.
Yeah, it's community service. I mean, we're tasked with delivering water, but we're out there, and so providing those kind of things, I think, to me, I mean, any investment in that is really, I think, pays a lot of returns on the other side. I really think so. And this is just one example, I think, of that. But I think it's the culture, to be honest, that Robert and his team have, and the board has supported. But it's that culture that, we do our jobs. We're out there delivering water and make sure water's safe and it's there. But when there's a need, we show up to help. And so I think it's an important part of who we are.
I think that's a great news story to put out there. Is there any certification that some of our crews have? Like, is there a first responders certification program, or is there CPR?
Yeah. Almost all of our staff is CPR certified, and our safety officer is a certified instructor for CPR. So we just did that a couple months ago, and we go through.
That would be a great story to get out there, that our crews are all CPR trained, and they're actively working to assist in the community as needed.
Yeah. And I think that's what I hear it from, we have a great relationship with North County Fire and Cal Fire. I think because of the way these guys have partnered with them. And it just hasn't always been the case, right? A lot of times, you get, I think a lot of outside, we don't need the water district here. We know this is our battle here. But every time I hear about these guys showing up, there's always some usefulness to it, right? Like, hey, we're trying to connect this hydrant. Something's busted, and these guys go fix it, and allows them to, just things like that, where I think the collaboration is a little bit unique to this kind of the special districts in this area. And maybe not, I'm sure it happens elsewhere, but I think it's pretty special here. So it's
Interagency cooperation. That even happens between water districts as well.
right. Right.
Well, and I think back to the firefighting aspect of, this emergency, understanding for those resources and assets, understanding how that water resources working, how quickly it filled up, that it had it had power, you know, for them to manage those assets, send some off so they're not just burning fuel, hovering and doing circles, and being able to get all that information to them really quickly. I mean, that we're part of the response. So that's great. That's a good update. So what, before you go, so Gomez tank, what does that look like for a timeline or a grant request?
So
funding?
it's a good thing that, you know, it went on to the news that we're looking for financing. So maybe the county board of supervisors can come up with some grant opportunities for us. Cal OES, maybe the board will approve something in our next budget.
You say this is such a low cost item, right? Each of the county board of
Slam dunk.
supervisors have discretionary funds that they.
Yeah.
And we think we can do it, well, we think we can do it for a little bit less than the original cost, because they brought in a contractor to do it. And we're watching the con, we're like, we can do that. Like, we can do all that. So we just want to buy the tank and we'll install it ourselves.
So we need to make the pitch then.
We do. We need to make the pitch. That really, when these news stories came out, the second one kind of highlighted a little more. I probably said it 14 times when they were interviewing me. Like, yeah, we're looking for funding for a second one. And Tony just told you we need one every 10 miles. And we're looking for funding for a second one. And so they finally mentioned it. But I think that was kind of the idea, was we'd really like to use this. I mean, bring this news story with us down to, you know, ICE's office and go, hey, we need more of these, and we're willing to, you know, lead the effort. But I think that using this as kind of a stepping point, I think that was the intent. Yeah.
All right. Well, I would definitely like to have a follow-up on this as far as what our outreach is on, you know, to our elected officials. You know, I think it's a no-brainer. Great coverage. I mean, we started getting both. I was in La Jolla, I think I mentioned last month, and I went to the CAL FIRE app and I saw they visually show all the air assets circling the fire, and they're all right around Palo Mesa. And I was like, hell hydrant. I know it's hell hydrant. So everybody and the brother that I knew from Scripps Ranch down in San Diego, all started calling with regards to that. And it's such a great a message that the only thing that they heard about Rainbow was that we were going to stick them with a higher water bill because we were leaving. So that's such great publicity for the district. So that's good. All right. Thank you very much. Okay. So it wraps up 11. So let's move on to 12A, which is crop swap update.
So we have a total of $960,000 in $950,000. We unfortunately will not reach the pinnacle of that 1 million that we thought we would over the past 7 months. And that's due to the overwhelming response that Rancho Water received for the program. They didn't anticipate running out of funding in this short amount of time. So they were really impressed with our number of submissions that they've received right now. They're being very selective on what they are going to approve. So most of the projects being sent in right now are sitting on a wait list. That's where we're at.
Yeah, I think we've got about 800 about 100,000 less, 860,000 that's actually approved, and funding is reserved. I think that there's about 100,000 that's on a wait list. I don't know if I mentioned this last time. I know I talked to the board about it. There is still funding available in that 5 million, but it's basically, you know, reserved by various agencies. We blew through our part and beyond in a matter of a month or two, we were well beyond that.
We were into the reserve.
Yeah, well into the reserve. But there's been, you know, several of the other agencies have been successful too. Valley Center's well above their reserve. Fallbrook's above their reserve. So there is still funding there, but it is reserved for other agencies for the moment. What we talked through a little bit, and I don't know how this all will shake out, but all the funding has to be expended by the end of 26. And so I think as we get into 25, because these projects, you know, they take some time. Like if you're going to do avocado rootstock or it takes time to actually get the crop in, you know, get your trees in or whatever it is, and then actually execute the project. So we had talked about when we get into like mid 25, relooking at what's available and do we think it's going to be spent under the reservation it's under now, or do we need to hit some of these wait list projects to make sure the money gets spent? And then, of course, we're looking for additional funding too. It's this point, it looks unlikely that it would come through the state. This one originally came through DWR, but the state budget is not in fantastic shape. And so we are one of the things we were going to do is look back at the program that this came through and see if there's anybody else that's just not using their money or is not going to use their money, and then maybe get some more funding there. So there's a couple avenues that are being explored, because I think we have more than this, even just on our pending applications. I think it looked to me like we had a couple $100,000 in pending applications left. So anyways, I'm still hopeful that this 100,000 that's on the wait list, and then whatever else is on the pending, will eventually get funded. But I mean, still to get anywhere near, we've handed out $1 million to our ag customers to help them with, make their farms sustainable. So either way, it's been wildly successful. I think exceeded all our expectations, to be quite honest, at least this kind of time period. So the reinvestment is great. I mean, that's
great job.
So, yeah.
And if you look at the cost savings over a 10-year period, it's really amazing.
Yeah.
For the end user implementing these changes.
So to help support Rancho as they're going through this early stage of seeking out funding, they're going to be reaching out to us to provide testimonials, letters of support that can help them really secure those grants in place. So I've left that open for us to coordinate with some of our recipients of the grant.
Okay. Any other questions on crop swap?
Just gonna say, between detachment, crop swap, and the tariff on Mexico, and our avocado people are in good shape here.
Not according to the.
I know, I was here at the meeting where they were talking, but according to economics, it could be that.
It could be a lot worse.
It could be a lot worse. It's gotten a little better.
All right.
It's just our project type overview, pretty much staying the same: 27 avocado rootstock, 16 crop conversion, 9 avocado rejuvenation. Those have been the top 3 over duration of this program.
All righty. Okay. Any last questions on crop swap update? All right, moving on. 12B, community events update.
Tomorrow, we have an event we are holding, first time ever we're hosting the San Diego Blood Bank. They will park their mobile blood unit just outside of our administration building here from 9 a.m. to 2:30. There is a sign up form if you'd like to on our website, or you could just show up. Appointments are available for walk-ups. There's a few minor requirements there on our website. There's a teaser on the homepage just about age and health. We are looking forward to it. And for every person that donates tomorrow, they'll receive a free entree to the Broken Yoke Cafe. And we promoted this in all of our billing and bills. So right below your invoice, there's a message about it. There was a article in the newspaper last week that ran. It's our first time for this event, so we really do encourage you all to come.
All righty. Any questions on community events update? All right, item 13, newsletter content planning.
Review for this month. We had not one, but 2 newsletters this month. The regular December newsletter that's going over the financial benefits of our detachment, an overview of our water wholesale costs, and what our customers will receive voting rights and the opportunity to attend their board meeting. At the suggestion of Mr. Kosak, we have a 2024 major accomplishment list there. On the back page, we recognize our team for receiving, for the 4th consecutive year, the Top Workplaces Award from San Diego Union Tribune, and then some holiday reminders about fats, oils, greases, and our office hour coaching. And in addition, A special mailer will be sent to everyone in the district, including our non-ratepayers. It's an expansion on the newsletter overview. There's a graphic in there that's very interesting. It's the pathway that shows our numbers with rate increases with EMWD and then San Diego County Water Authority. So those numbers there, I think, will be critical in helping our customers better understand the cost savings long-term with detachment. We have our water and wastewater service rate and information on PSAR and our transition to ethical type rate. That will drop this week.
Okay.
And coming up for January and February. January, we're really going to try to push online bill pay, get those email addresses so that we can reduce the number of calls that we receive on the phone and incoming drop-offs of bills. That will help us in times when our office is closed for holiday times. And we want to push the educational outreach. So the NCWA calendars, which you have in your packets there, came out this week. We'll have them available in the lobby, and then we'll start doing classroom visits at the end of January. Highlighting rebates from Metropolitan Water. Those are also through EMWD. It's just high efficiency toilet installs, new washer and dryer requirements, rain barrels. Just trying to push those rebates that we have readily available for our customers. As we've transitioned away from the Water Authority, we've been pushing more net rebates. Customer survey will be in there. And February, we are going to highlight the value of water, where we get our water from, same place we've always been receiving, but can express that better in an infographic. We'll have some WaterWise Life series. We're going to continue with information from EMWD and have some daily tips for water usage. And then also the educational outreach contest. And for National Reading Week, we're going to include some water-based books recommendations for students.
Okay.
You're doing a great job. It's a lot of information. It just a third of our ratepayers read this. We're ahead of the game, and it'll just keep, eventually they'll get more and more and realize what a great tool it is when, they get their water bill and realize they can start saving some money.
Other comments? Suggestions? Okay. Thank you so much. Item 14, public communications and related media stories.
So we had a lull in our media coverage for the past couple months, and then Village News just decided to cover almost an entire issue about us. So if you've seen the newspaper in the past couple weeks, our agenda packet included some, and then just from this past week, we have 6 articles that were published. We have our Haley Hydrant, was a joint press release we put out with our other agencies. Some information from our board meetings was pulled for our board officers, inclusion into EMWD, the top workplaces feature. We moved up from number 22 to number 14 this year.
Oh,
massive improvement there.
Mm-hmm.
And then more coverage from our board meeting, absorbing the net increase, financing the exit fee. Approving tank maintenance, and then final budget amendment. And this was a nice feature we have here on top workplaces, and then recognizing our staff for some of their 20, 25, and 35-year achievement. And then the blood bank coverage for tomorrow's event.
Excellent. Wow.
Yeah,
that's some great
The rainbow
coverage.
news.
It was funny. I talked to Joe Naiman a couple weeks ago. All the stuff that was from the November 19th board meeting, and then the next the next paper that came out, there was one article, and it was just about us kind of realigning. We're going to do board officers in December and committees in January, and I'm like, man, we talked about a lot of important stuff. And then I saw the next paper come out, and
Oh, there it is.
oh my goodness, it's the whole paper. So
Great.
it is good.
All right, comments? Anything else anybody wants to share with regards to public communications and related media stories? Okay. All right. How about suggested items, agenda items for the next meeting, which would be January 21st at 1 p.m.
We may-
Service update? Don't we do that quarterly?
Uh,
End of the quarter or
next-
beginning of the quarter?
yeah, next one I'll do is in February.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have a written draft of the strategic communications plan. I've done a couple presentations, but it might actually be a document draft to review and get.
That'd be great.
I was gonna ask, but I didn't want to put pressure on you.
Well, we have a public relations intern, and so, Amanda's bandwidth and mine are fairly full, but she's been able to help us make some progress on the first draft. So
Excellent.
it's been great to have that help.
Okay, so that's gonna get added. Wonderful. And then I guess if we went back to the January 2024 agenda, I kind of thought we did something where we kind of looked forward towards the year of some of the things that we were going to focus on or try to accomplish. I don't know if it was annual planning. Could you guys just kind of?
It was a workshop that we had in February to help inform the strategic communications plan.
No, I remember that, but I thought we had an agenda item in early 2024 that kind of looked forward to what we were thinking about for the year. So if you could,
Just like district wide.
well, from this committee.
Okay, because we had two items on there. One was a long range plan update, and that was more district centric,
Mhm.
things that were going on. And then the other was kind of the kickoff to the strategic communications plan, which the workshop followed that. Those were the two items from last January.
Well, maybe if we could put an item, an agenda item to talk about the 2025 calendar, quarterly highlights, what we kind of see happening in 2025 and kind of just a high level type of a thing. However you guys think it's best to organize and or communicate that, so we can kind of get a vision of what we're thinking about for the year. That'd be great. Anything else? All right, it's 2:24. We are going to adjourn. Thank you. Guys have a great
Yeah, thank you. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy New Year.
And then this